Hello, everyone, and welcome to Give Me Some Good News, the hospitable podcast about hospitality and tourism. As always, I'm your host, Caleb Sullivan, here with my wonderful co host, Mr. Tyler Ford. Tyler, how are you doing today?
Caleb, I'm doing great. I was hoping you were going to go with the hospitable podcast about hospitality. I didn't know if you were going to end up doing
You
that.
know,
We touched on it earlier and just have a fun little quirky intro. That was great.
try
Float off the
something
top of the
new.
dome. Good job, man. Good job.
Trying something new. And speaking of trying something new, we've got a guest on this podcast that I could not be more excited to have on. A fellow DI 30 under 30. We are the best class ever. So for everyone else out there, they can just forget about it. Class of 2021, we roll. And funny enough, someone I've always looked up to, and I am just giddy to have you on this podcast, Emily. You've been an inspiration to me in my career. So, Emily, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi. Well, thank you so much, Caleb, for even mentioning, that 30 under 30 class is the best.
It
And
is.
I mean, it really is. I mean, our group chat goes off. The karaoke nights are probably my absolute favorite. But yeah, my name is Emily Zertuche. I am okay, so here's an announcement.
Ooh, hot off the press.
Well, yes, hot
Ooh.
off the press. Well, will be publicly announced here in the next couple days. I am shifting from my role of Chief Marketing Officer to Chief Innovation Officer.
Ooh,
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, which I'm really
Congratulations.
excited about. We just announced it to the team not even 30 minutes ago. Incredibly excited. But I've been with Visit Corpus Christi for over 10 years, going on 11, which is absolutely
nice.
crazy. But I'm a veteran in the industry space. I absolutely love what I do day in and day out. And I'm just excited. It's going to be a great year.
It absolutely is going to be a great year. And one of the things we like to talk about on this podcast is actually career growth. And there's a few different ways that people in our industry do that, right? Like some people do what I did, right? Like work at a DMO, go to a vendor, and now at an agency. Some people like Tyler aren't even in this industry. So sorry, Tyler. And then we've got people like you who are truly, dedicated to their organization and have worked the ranks up throughout their career. So kind of speak to your career growth and like what's kept you going at Visit Corpus Christi for 10, almost 11 years.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, such a fun topic. Well, I'll just start with where I got into the space of hospitality and travel. And it started when I picked up a server job in college. I started with being a server. I worked at house. You can't get enough of those honey butter cinnamon rolls. You can't get enough of the steak. It's just quality every time.
High
I will
quality.
be a Texas Roadhouse girl till I die. The one thing I do miss is the peanuts all over the floor. But other than that, I do miss being able to have all of that with me. But I worked my way up there and became a bartender. So I loved bartending. I loved the hustle. I loved being able to talk to so many different people, all different walks of life. I had my regulars. I knew everybody by drink. It was just so much fun. And I liked the hustle so much that I got a second job where I was a barista at Starbucks. So I would wake up at 5 in the morning, open up Starbucks. I'd shoot a doppio campana. If you know what that is, you're a real one, but it's 2 shots of espresso with a whipped cream dollop. I would
Ooh.
shoot that bad boy every morning, work the rush, and then I'd go home, take a nap, wake up, open the bar at 2, and work that shift and make my money. So I just loved the drive. I love the hustle. But more importantly, I just love serving and I love serving people and I love finding novelty in the day to day. And it was so hard trying to find a career that had that same feeling of novelty, of that same feeling of hospitality, of getting to continue to be creative and innovation is just one of those things that I was so excited to do. And when I started at Visit Corpus Christi, I took it up as a job where it was actually just an opening level position. I had a close friend that was my fiance's at the time, now married 7 years. But at the time, he introduced me to a friend that was looking for somebody to take photos for their social media channels. And Facebook was the thing at the time. This was the era of BuzzFeed articles and, do the quizzes, listicles. Websites didn't even have content at this time. Showing my age, which is funny because like I still feel young, but in that era, I took it upon myself to make the most fantastic resume I could possibly make. I found ways that I could really just show what I was capable of, even without the background of somebody that had that. And they took a chance on me, and I took the position. And I mean, from there, I just always had enthusiasm for learning. And how could I do more? What could I do to learn more and service and help people? And that's honestly the background foundation that drove me to be able to get these opportunities of new roles and new challenges because I was never afraid of a challenge. I was never afraid to step out of my comfort zone. I mean, even from the get-go of getting the position was a challenge, and I loved being able to know that I could do something that I never did before. So, I just always I'm a shoot from the hip girl. I love being able to learn, and like imposter syndrome was for sure there at the beginning, but the more and more I worked there, and I was a 20 something in an office full of 40 plus at that time, and everyone wore really nice shirts and heels, and it was very formal. Our board was very formal. Everything was very hush hush. The culture was just so different than years into my career because, shifting in CEOs. And at that time, it was just, you learn the hard way. You learn the dynamic type work. And after time, it just became easier to talk shop on their end, but learn how to talk shop on the other end. And all of that just led into so many opportunities.
Yeah, and a couple of things here I'd want to encourage folks that I picked out of that. It's really hard to be able to teach someone drive, right? Like that's one of those things that you kind of you either have or you don't, as I've heard, but it can be a habit that is picked up. So your continual hustle, while it doesn't seem if you're a kid working in college and you're a barista, well, it doesn't seem like there's okay, well, if I'm not the most enthusiast barista, I might, it'll be different when I get my career. That drive really does propel you into your professional pursuits, as you've pointed out. And I
Yeah.
think, and I can speak for Tyler a bit here too. We both come from food and beverage too, shocker. And I think it's a
Yep.
really good place for folks to kind of get their feet wet and to learn. But you've done a great job of just pushing forward, being dynamic, being innovative, and now you're in this role of chief innovation officer. So, kind of speak to that. Like Visit Corpus Christi obviously is seeing um, the need, the business case for someone to be forward thinking, even more so than a CMO. So, kind of speak to what that looks like and what this new role entails for you.
Yeah, there's just going to be so much to learn. But one thing that I just absolutely love is that Visit Corpus Christi has long time been an incubator of future goals. And, we're small, but we're mighty. And I think what really started this conversation on how Visit Corpus Christi is laying that foundation of being this incubator type destination came from our CEO that came in, Brett Otting. And when he came in, he had a background from Topeka, came in and just really transformed the way I look at destination marketing, and as well as the whole team. He built this foundational culture. He was, the futurist that I never knew we could have in terms of learning about the basics of Destinations International. It was my first time going to a national conference. It was my first time getting to network with people, and all of those opportunities of being involved in 30 under 30, of being involved in the committees and learning and engaging on a national level just really opened my eyes to the future that this place could have. And I think that in itself had propelled our entire staff to adopt this mentality of we can do big things, no matter how small this destination is, no matter how hard it is to get our stakeholders to live and breathe what we're doing. Over time, the advocacy component was so much of a conversation that we took that and we ran with it. And, getting people on the team was also so much fun because we would find like-minded people to be part of this team and say, hey, if you're somebody that's driven, you're somebody that is a wanderer and are ready to jump and move, even if you don't know fully what you're about to get into, we want you on the team. And I think that's what was so cool about this foundational development of this organization is getting the right people in the room and knowing that there's no one that can tell you no in terms of being afraid to fail
Mm.
or being afraid to see if something is not going to go right. So I credit a lot of foundation to Brett. And then when Brett left, we got a wonderful CEO that just came in last February was when she was announced, and she came in April, Brooke Kaufman, who came from Rapid City, which is a much smaller destination, a third of the budget that we have. And she came in with a completely different approach in in her world. And her world was ROI, results driven. Let's look at this. She comes from a very much a sales background. And it's something that I've been learning of like, oh my gosh, you can do such huge impact with such little small things, making it simple but significant,
Hmm.
making things very streamlined and easy to understand from a KPI standpoint. Instead of having 20 KPIs, why don't we condense it to 5 KPIs? And this foundation that I learned with Brett and this simplification I'm learning with Brooke has just really propelled me to understand the biggest picture of how can we drive impact and obsessed with the future of what AI is going to do in our space. And I, on my own time, am researching pod actually happen in our space. And with all of this in combination with Brooke coming in and seeing things from a new picture and just really structuring what makes sense for this organization to continue to go forward and continue to take it to the next level is where this change is happening with our department of, you know what? I love that this team is innovative. I love that you have always been ahead. I love the things you put out there. I know I'm adopting this badass team. So let's take it to the next level. How do we do that? And that's what Brooke's doing. And it's really cool to have a leader that believes in you. And
Yep.
I'm over the moon. So
Ah, well,
That's
congratulations.
well, that's awesome. I love this general attitude though of just completely eliminating the big quote of, well, that's how it's always been done.
Mm.
First off, there's a general attitude within your entire team, and that's just I can imagine that's never said, and that's
right.
not probably not allowed to be said. And I also love the statement you said of just everyone buying into this belief that we can do big things and kind of shape the future of what tourism even looks like, because we all know that, and you said it really well in your invisible elimination of DMOs, like the 2016 to 2026.
Thank you for
So
reading.
yeah, no, I thought it was awesome, and honestly I agree with all of that. I thought just a whole lot I'd like to go into there, but first I would like to see if you could paint a picture of what successful DMOs might look like in 2030, because I'm sure you're already doing that with your team as you guys are part of the group shaping this future. But what can other DMOs take from you there to be part of that group?
First and foremost, don't think that you have to keep doing what you've always done.
Mm.
And in order to be a DMO that is going to stay ahead and going to survive the change, is knowing that change will always happen and adaptation has to continue to happen. This world that we're in right now is so unprecedented in the past 10, 20 years of innovation. And you see how quickly people are adopting to AI. It is crazy. We haven't seen a digital evolution like this in our lifetime. And so what I think is the idea of like, oh, well, we'll wait and see. Let's just see what happens. That is not something we need to do. That is the worst possible thing you can do is wait and see. And we have to stay ahead by learning how fast we can adapt. And it's going to be a lot of change for a lot of people in terms of how do I keep the same structure in my organization? How do I keep the same priorities for my marketing KPIs? How do I look at what is going to move the needle? For so long, we've put so much energy into websites as our front door to seeing a destination. That is not going to be what consumers go to anymore. That's just not a traditional, I mean, it is traditional, but it's not going to be a traditional space for a consumer to learn about your destination. I also think that there's going to be these changes, such as the website, that people in organizations need to start really looking at from a wonder perspective of let's unravel everything that we know about marketing, unravel everything we know about sales, about our dashboards, about our governance. Is this the right structure to keep us okay and keep us functioning in 2030? And if your answer is, I'm not sure, then you've got a problem. And I think that there's a lot of things that can be for so long. We had digital vendors coming up to us and giving us a promise of what we need to fulfill a certain task requested of our board members. And we'd go, you know what, that's a good idea. Let me budget that for next year. So then we would, and then we'd get the vendor. Okay, well, this vendor does attribution. All right, let's get them. Oh, you know what? This media agency is great, but I don't like their creative. Let's get this agency. So it would just become us playing like we're collecting Beanie Babies. And now that we have this huge amount of them, AI comes into the picture and it's that top layer of, okay, well, let me see what you guys have. And it's going to pick out anything you already have. And it could be messy, it could be old, it could be unfamiliar data, it could be contradicting data. And I think that's going to really hurt destination marketers if they're not cleaning up their infrastructure, cleaning up their data, looking into their websites. There's so much cleanup that we need to start doing. And I know that's so boring and it doesn't sound fun, but it's true. It's what we need to do. It's one thing to look out from a megaphone perspective, which is typically your marketing and communications team, but who on your team is really the future? And that's where this Department of Innovation is coming in for Visit Corpus Christi of we need to clean up. We got to make sure what we're saying makes sense. We got to simplify and make sure that message is amplified times 20. We want to set up our marketing teams for success. And so I really hope that this is something we see more in destination marketing, especially the little guys, the teams with two, three people with budgets under 500,000. They're going to need that support. And there's going to be so much need for that of like, man, there's some destinations that just don't have time. And I'm hoping that there's going to be a solution that we can fine tune and roll out for this whole industry. And, that's me thinking really like big picture, but I want to be able to be part of that narrative. I want to be able to come up with the solution and be a case study so that we can help all destination marketing. Um, and that's where my drive comes from on this in this new chapter.
Yeah. And that's one of those things too. I truly believe the best DMOs are the ones that think like a private entity or they think like entrepreneurs and startups because you have this, and I've heard it talked about on Destination Discourse before. I believe it was Dan Janes was talking about it with Madden, but this concept of like having a sense of urgency, driving innovation and moving the needle forward. I think I know what you guys are doing is you are being proactive. And I believe that setting this example for those smaller DMOs is a great way to kind of move the industry forward. Um, the other thing too, and I think Stuart's talked about it before, but it is, really AI in general is a great equalizer. And I
Hmm.
truly believe now is the right time to start laying down the foundation for the next 10 years. You know, we've in the DMO space, we've traditionally been reactive. We've traditionally been the wait and see crew. And I believe for this industry to A, be relevant and to B, be future proof, we're gonna have to really think like innovators. We're really gonna have to think like startups. We're really gonna have to think like private entities. Um, you know, for so long, and you bring up a good point. I love the Beanie Babies thing. Collecting
Yeah,
Beanie Babies,
that's great.
collecting Pokemon cards of
Yeah, it's like
vendors.
Even
Pokemon.
more
Yeah,
fun.
Yeah, it's like it's one
yeah.
of those things where, you know, we did it, but what does that data mean? And at the end of the day, how accurate is it? How clean is it? And I love the work that you're doing, and I would encourage DMOs of all sizes to listen to what you have to say, and to really lean into being innovative, no matter how big or small. Um, One of the things you've been doing that I'm just a huge fangirl of, is this writing, right? Like you've kind of like reinvigorated and you've inspired me. I've got some stuff I'll be writing, dropping TBD, about my beliefs on small DMOs, which, you know, small DMO guy, big fan. But kind of what inspired you to do this? And how is it contributing to your personal brand as a thought leader in this space?
I love to have a space for myself and for expressing myself. And in a noisy world, in all of these platforms and noise that we have, it was a combination of finding solace in my mental health for digital digesting of information, but also I love having a space. I come from the Zanga MySpace era. I loved creating my HTML5 MySpace website. I customized that, like the song choice was so intentional. Like I had to have the best MySpace song. I remember editing all my photos. Like, I just and past that, Facebook kind of took away that creativity. It was more just a social platform, and Facebook blew up for a minute, and now it's for the old people apparently. And I mean, I just go to see what my parents are doing. And of course, all the complainers of our community, because that's just what it is, just
Of course.
complainer city.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
but I love Instagram and I love TikTok. TikTok really was something that I just didn't feel like fit my values over time. Um, because I was so addicted to doom scrolling for like an hour, 2 hours before bed. And my husband did the same. Like we'd just be like scrolling and sending each other TikToks throughout the night, like cracking up and like, but I'm like, man, like, what if I just started reading? Or
Yep.
like, there's like, this is probably not the best for me. So, 2026 goals. I saw your podcast with David and talking about New Year's resolutions and goals, and that's something that I did. I was thinking about what is the person I want to be? Like
Yeah.
who is the person I am? Um, there's a book that I love to read every year, and it's James Clear's Atomic Habits.
Great book. I read it this year. It's my first
Yeah,
one of the year. Yep.
yeah, same. And I love his notion of in order to develop and keep a habit, you have to adopt that that's who you are.
Yes.
It is not the habits that you're creating to go, oh, I can't wait till I'm that person. No, you are that person. So what would a person like that do every day? So, I want to lean into the industry. I want to lean into having an outlet. It's funny because Brooke, my CEO, she might get mad at me for this, but when I go into her office, I rant. I talk so much, and I'm just talking and talking like this and this and that and this. Like our one-on-ones are just me ranting, and she's just like, you talk a lot. She's like, okay. Or my emails, sometimes I will send her like a full, she calls them Bibles. She's like, Emily, your Bible emails, like I just want short and sweet. And I learned this like in the first like 2 weeks of her working here, but I have so much in my brain that I'm like, oh, she's not gonna like that. Like, let me just make it short and sweet. So I felt like I was like Like I have so much to say. So you combine that, and then you combine finding better habits. What can I replace instead of doom scrolling? Substack.
Yes.
I love that platform. There's so many great authors, so many great writers on that platform, and I honestly am just so inspired by how long form content reigns,
Yep.
and I want to use that as a platform. I also want to find a way to communicate to my people without over inundating them with the Bible email. You come to MySpace if you want to read these things, but I'm not going to force you.
Yeah.
So I just think it's important that we, as DMOs, we need people to amplify their own messages. This needs to be a conversation for everyone on what they're seeing. I don't want to be able to only hear from DMOs from someone like from another things industry event. Like now we're in a roundtable. That's great, but I'm not going to hear from you for another 3 months.
Yeah.
And we might email back and forth once, but I'm not going to hear. Or I'll see a newsletter and like beautiful. I wish I could engage more in the conversation with you. I want to be able to see more cadence of us speaking to what it is that we're seeing, and finding a community for each other. We are very spread out. There's a little bit of old school type people in the industry that, like they had their time, and I want to see the rise of our 30 under 30s. I want to see the rise of our incoming workforce to use their platform to speak and talk about what they're seeing and how are we going to drive this place forward. We are the future. Like
Absolutely.
we need more voices, and I'm just hoping to inspire people to do that, to do the same.
Well, you're definitely inspiring me. I love to see someone like yourself with such great experience and such great thoughts, relaying that to the industry abroad and to the world, quite honestly, through Substack. So keep it going. The reason this podcast even exists is because Adam Stoker told me, he said two things. One is you don't need permission to do anything in this industry. So he gave me permission not to need
So
permission,
true.
which is
It's
just
Hmm.
so
like,
true.
it was so satisfying and just gratifying. I was like, thanks, man. And then the second thing he said, I believe what I believe about destination marketing because I've had 400 episodes of podcasting to figure it out, right? And Tyler and I just had Tyler along because he and I have talked about tourism in our little vacuum for
Yes, I
years,
know. Yeah, we've talked about attribution. Oh my gosh,
for
the amount
like
of
years.
a long time.
So I was like, well, let's just, get this guy who's
Yeah,
not even in tourism and start a podcast.
Why
And
not?
yeah, why not?
yeah,
And
And I
exactly. That's a
and I
great quote.
love
Why
that you're
not?
doing this. Like I
yeah,
love that you're doing it. I just think they're so few and far in between.
yeah,
And I hope to see more creators in our space do what they do because we're a huge industry.
yeah,
And I only recognize maybe like 30 tops that have any kind of platform, whether it's a Substack, a podcast, a newsletter. I want to see more. I want the content.
yeah. Let this
Feed
be
me.
let this be us giving you permission not to need permission. How about that to all
That
10 of
should
our listeners?
No, truly, that should be the takeaway
Yeah,
that you don't need permission to own your voice.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, Tyler, anything else for you,
Yeah.
man? That was, whew, gosh.
Well, I know that was awesome, and I just kind of want to leave our listeners, especially those who are not already in tourism, though. What's one final pitch to outsiders looking in at this industry to maybe come in and join?
Oh my gosh. Novelty,
Mm.
novelty, support, creativity, and purpose. Those are the things. This industry is just amazing. I can't think of another industry that has what we do look so good. We have so much like the day-to-day work it changes all the time. We look at travel all the time, but travel is good and travel is something that makes you happy, it makes you excited. And what better industry to be in than an industry that excites you
Yeah.
and getting to provide that experience. It's just the best feeling. So I don't know. Thing.
I'd say that's a great pitch. Like
Yeah.
honestly, like do work you love, you know? And on top of that, I always like to tell people we're selling sunshine and rainbows, you know?
Truly,
Like we're
truly.
selling the best memories you're going to make with your family. We're inviting people to our destinations to make them feel welcome, loved, and appreciated. And we're using that tax revenue to make the lives better for the people that live in the communities that we serve. So why not tourism? And, go for it. I'm here to chat with anyone interested in joining the industry. Emily, obviously I know you are, and I always like to end it with this, what is some good news in your world, Emily?
The good news that the future is bright and that everyone still has a voice. Everyone still is able to shed light and be the light. I think, in the world that we're in right now, there's so much uncertainty. There's a lot going on that can negatively impact you and your mental health. And there's so many things that we can look at that is just not okay in the world. But you can be the positive in the world. And it takes one change. It takes you being able to own your voice, own your platform, own your narrative, and spread that word. Because at the end of the day, we are in it together, and there has to be positivity, there has to be light in the darkness. So I just think that's the good news is you have the potential to change your mind at any point.
Ugh, wise words. Wise words. Well, Emily, thank you so much for coming on our podcast, and thank you for being a fan. We do
Huge.
really appreciate it. And
I love getting to hear other people and, learn a little slice of their life.
absolutely. Well, Emily, if people want to find you, where can they do that?
Yes, so you can find me at Emily C. Zertuche, and hopefully you see my name right here. Um, Emily C. Zertuche, follow me there.
Awesome. So let's run that by one more time because I think you dropped off a little bit with the lagging. So, Emily, if people want to find you, where can they do that?
Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn or on Substack at Emily C. Zertuche.
Wonderful. And Tyler, if people want to find you, where can people find you?
First you can find me on LinkedIn, and second, you may have been looking for me on Threads. I've not taken the
Oof.
plunge yet,
Oh, come
and I
on,
do
Tyler. You told the
apologize.
fans. You
And
got to give the fans what they
I
want.
did, and I do apologize. I've not really been able to get myself to do it just yet. However, I've got some interest in Substack right now. Like the gears
Okay.
are turning a bit, so we'll see. TBD there, but for now, definitely LinkedIn. Caleb, is there anywhere that fans can find you?
Well, folks can find me at csullivan at paradiseadv.com. I work for Paradise Advertising. We're a full service agency. And you can also find me on probably my favorite platform, LinkedIn. Um, and this has been some good news.